Now that all the period entries, as well as our one required adjusting entry, have been recorded for Cleanmore Appliance, we need to start the process of preparing our financial statements for the period. First step in that is our T accounts. And you'll be given a chart with all the T accounts. For the purpose of time, I have a lot of this filled in already. I don't think anybody wants to sit here and watch me do a video of finding T balances for 45 minutes. But I will do a couple of accounts and show you a little bit of ways to make this an easier process for using Excel to get to these numbers in the long run. I have left equity investments blank. So to find the balance of our equity investment T account, we need to go back to our journals and find every entry we recorded during the period that use equity investments. So here we don't have any yet. We don't have any here, nor here, nor there, but here we do. So on January 3rd, Cleanmore purchased an equity investment in Eddy Electronics. In that entry, we debited equity investment for $2.5 million. Let's do the same thing in our T accounts. So if we go to our T's, we can bring that $2.5 million over by hitting equal, going back to the journal entries, and clicking on that amount. What else do we have in here that has equity investments being used? Now if we scroll down, on February 1st, we sold some of that Eddy Electronics common stock, and we did so at a fairly decent sized gain. But in that entry, we credited equity investments for $312,500. So if I go back to my T's, I can bring that $312,500 credit over by hitting equals in the cell I want to put that number in, going back to the journal, and clicking on that amount. And now we get to find the balance of our equity investments account, because those are the only two transactions we had that involved equity investments during the period. Equity investments is an asset account. How do you find the balance of any asset account? You add together all the debits and you subtract out the credits. So you can find the balance by typing equals the sum of all of our debits minus the sum of all of our credits. And with all of that in there, if I hit enter, it's going to find the balance of our equity investment T account, which is at this time $2,187,500. I already have a bunch of our asset accounts filled in, but there are a couple that I have the numbers for, finished goods inventory and WIP inventory, that don't have the balance included. And I did that on purpose so I can show you guys this neat little trick. As long as your T's are uniform in size, we're going to want the same formula in every single balance spot here. We're going to want to have it be equal to the sum of the debits minus the sum of the credits, which is exactly the formula that we used here. Sum of column F above it minus the sum of column G above it. So if I want to copy that over, what I can do is I can right click, I can hit copy, and then I can go to the cells that I want to copy this formula into. And because it's multiple cells, if I hold down Control, I can click them all at once. So I'm going to hold down Control. I know I'm going to want a balance there, here, and I know I'm going to want a balance here. And then if I right click on either of those cells, it gives me this list of paste options. And the third one over where it says f of x is to only copy formulas. And if I do that, it's going to give me my balances. And does it make sense? Yep. Finished goods inventory should have a debit balance of $600,000. WIP inventory should have a balance of $400,000. Down here below, I left a couple of liability accounts open. I didn't even touch premium on bonds payable. Why would I do that? It's because liability accounts work the opposite way of asset accounts. They're supposed to go up on the credit side and down on the debit side. So I figure I would do one example for debit balance accounts and one example for credit balance accounts. Here is our credit balance account. So we're going to start with our premium on bonds payable. Let's go back to our journals and let's find anything to do with premium on bonds payable. And if I scroll down, in the original entry on January 2nd, where we issued our 5-year bonds at a bond price above 100, or if we charge more than 100% of face value, that's where we put the premium on the books in the first place. And when we did so, we credited premium on bonds payable for $60,000. So if I go back to my T's, I can bring that $60,000 credit over by hitting enter in the spot I want to put it, going back to the journals and clicking that $60,000. This date is on January 2nd, so if I go over here into the spot where I want the area, I can just type in 1-2 and it gives me my date. Did we have any other entries for premium on bonds payable? We paid interest on these bonds way at the end. I remember doing that. So let's go find that guy. Yeah, right there he is. We paid interest on these bonds, and when we did so, we amortized that premium by $3,000 by debiting it. So back to my T's, I can click where I want to put that. It was a debit, so I'm going to put it on the debit side of the T. I'm going to go back to my journal entries. I'm going to click the 3,000 debit so I can bring it on over. This is on March 31st, so after I do that, I'm going to go through and I'm going to put the date in on this. And now we need to find the balance of our premium on bonds payable. Those are the only two entries we had that affected that account. Well, I can do so in the same manner that I did before. Since this is a liability account and liabilities balance on the credit side, I'm going to find the sum of all the credits equals sum, open parenthesis, highlight all your credits, close parenthesis, minus the sum, so minus sum, open another parenthesis, of all our debits. I'm going to highlight all those numbers. I'm going to end the parenthesis and I'm going to hit enter. Number makes sense. 57,000 is what we have as a premium. Yeah, that does look like it makes sense. We can even check it on our amortization table. If I go to the bonds at this point, the remaining carrying amount that we have in excess of our $2 million face value is $57,000 on this date, like everything looked in the way that it should be. Again, I have a few more liability accounts here that don't have a balance. Bonds payable, salaries payable, and accounts payable don't have a balance. I can do the same trick that I did before. Click on the cell that I want to copy. Don't want to do that though. Click on this, right click on the cell that I want to copy. Hit copy. Go through. Click on all of the different places that I want to copy this formula. Hitting enter, or holding down control, excuse me, on each one of these. And then when I have them all highlighted, I'll right click again. I'll go to my paste options and I'll hit paste formulas. And it's going to bring the balance of all those accounts in. Everything looks good. So you would do the same process all the way through for every single one of your accounts. You're just going to go through your journals, copy all the debits over, copy all the credits over. For all of your assets, your withdrawal, and your expense accounts, you're going to have the balance on the debit side. Debits minus credits will give you your balance. For all your liability accounts, revenue accounts, and equity accounts, you're going to have the balance on the credit side, so credits minus debits. I do want to make one point real fast before I end this section of the video. That copying works because all of the T's that we have here are uniform in size. Like every single T that I have is the same amount of lines tall. So every time I copy the formula over, it always just copied it over, grabbing the same space. You will have two T accounts that are different in size. One obviously is cash. We have a whole bunch of cash action going on over here to figure out this company's $7,456,173-ish balance. Since it's so much bigger, if you try copying like an equity investments formula over there, it's only going to give you, I'll try it right now to show you. We'll go and we'll click this formula right here. We'll copy it. We'll click on this cell. We'll hit paste. And as we see, I don't really think we're $4 million in the hole in cash. The reason that's happening is because we can see in our formula thing, it's only copying lines 11 through 16 because that was the height of these guys. So for your cash account, you're just going to have to type the formula in one more time. Find the sum of your debits. Subtract out the sum of your credits. And you will be good to go. The other T account that copy and paste isn't going to work for is interest expense because it's a few lines too tall. But for the rest of them, put all the numbers in. Once you type the formula in once for an account that has a debit balance, you can hold down control to copy and paste it in all the different spots that you want, and vice versa for your accounts that have a credit balance.